Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Creative Coach podcast. My name is Wade Kingsley. Thanks for coming back for another episode. Well, today something a little bit different. I'm going to read you a story. Now, it's a good story and it's about creativity, so hang in there with me. I'm a massive reader, always have been. I could read the newspaper when I was 4 years old, so my mum tells me, and I really haven't stopped reading ever since. Now I'm kind of approaching 50, believe it or not. But I just love reading, I love books, and I love soaking in any learning I can from anywhere, especially about creativity. So I'm hoping today's session will actually help you learn something about your own creative potential. First of all, just a quick shout out. Thanks to everyone who's rated or reviewed the podcast. I really appreciate that, or shared it with a friend, or tagged someone on LinkedIn with the podcast. I really do love that you're all getting something out of it and you can find your own creative journey evolving through our time together. If you want to get in touch, you can always email me, wade@thecreativecoach.com. So WADE @thecreativecoach.com. And don't forget, you can follow us on the socials and make comments on any of the episodes there, or DM me any feedback or questions you've got. I'm more than happy to answer them directly to you or in a future podcast episode. Okay, so let's get to today. And it's called A Creative Act because that is the title of this amazing book. There it is, by Rick Rubin. The Creative Act. And Rick Rubin is a very famous record producer. He famously claims he doesn't have a musical bone in his body, but he has worked with some amazing musical talent over many decades now. And what he's really good at is coaching the best out of those people. So for me, he's a bit of a hero because I aspire to do that for you, is to be able to bring out your creative potential in whatever creative pursuit you're looking to do. Now, just because it's music doesn't mean it doesn't apply to you. As we've talked about on previous episodes, there are everyday acts of creativity that you perform, and you've got to give yourself the credit for doing those. And from there, you can build the confidence to start stepping out your creativity and use it in many different ways to solve problems. But today I'm going to read you a short little chapter from the book. Now, I think you should buy it. I'm not breaching anyone's copyright, I don't think, by reading a chapter out to you, but I'm sure Rick would approve, because if you go and buy it, you'll absolutely love every word of this. And it's so beautifully designed too, with this beautiful circle kind of motif on the front cover. But this chapter that I thought I'd read today is a short one, and it's called The Source of Creativity. And it's a really important lesson because I often find when I'm coaching people is they say something along the lines of, I don't know where to start. How do I get started on that project? I'm feeling like I've got a mental block or a creative block. I can't unblock it. Well, hopefully this short chapter will give you a bit of insight from Rick. So he starts the chapter by saying, there's a time for certain ideas to arrive, and they find a way to express themselves through us. Okay, so this is called the source of creativity. We begin with everything. Everything seen, everything done, everything thought, everything felt, everything imagined, everything forgotten, and everything that rests unspoken and unthought within us. This is our source material, and from it, we build each creative moment. This content does not come from inside us. The source is out there, a wisdom surrounding us, an inexhaustible offering that's always available. We either sense it, remember it, or tune into it. Not only through our experiences, it also may be dreams, intuitions, subliminal fragments, or other ways still unknown by which the outside finds its way inside. To the mind, the material appears to come from within, but that's an illusion. There are tiny fragments of the vastness of source stored within us. These precious wisps arise from the unconscious like vapor and condense to form a thought, an idea. It may be helpful to think of source as a cloud. Clouds never truly disappear. They change form. They turn into rain and become part of the ocean, and then evaporate and return to being clouds. The same is true of art. Art is a circulation of energetic ideas. What makes them appear new is that they're combining differently each time they come back. No two clouds are the same. This is why when we're struck by a new piece of art, it can resonate on a deeper level. Perhaps this is the familiar coming back to us in an unfamiliar form. Or maybe it is something unknown that we didn't realize we were looking for, a missing piece in a puzzle that has no end. So the book is full of very short chapters like that. So let me just give one last plug for the book. I think you should absolutely get it. It's called The Creative Act by Rick Rubin. Please support your local independent bookseller and go and buy it from them. Or if you can't find it or they can't get it in stock, then go ahead and buy it from a book website. So, why I think that's important is often this case of sourcing material comes up. And I know that you've probably had writer's block before, or you've had a creative block, or you've been trying to solve a problem and you just can't get yourself out of that fog, that jam of nothing will come, nothing will start. And chances are you're staring at a blank page or a blank screen, or even just staring out the window. So, you need to think about your source material. What are the things around you? What are the things that you have in your past experience? What are conversations you're having with your friends or family at the moment? What are ways that you can tap into that vast well of inspiration that just sits outside of you? It may be something that you've done before, it may be something you've never done. Maybe it's an article that you read or something you read on one of your social media feeds. But something about that is providing those little fragments, and those little fragments form into an idea. Now, no matter what idea you're going for, whether it's songwriting, whether it's painting, whether it's just writing, whether you want to write a really good speech for a birthday party, it doesn't really matter what the output is, but the source material is where it all starts. So if you find yourself a bit dry of source material, the obvious place to start is go and get some. I always encourage people to go for a walk. Walking is one of the most underrated creative exercises there is. We think of it as physical activity, but whether you walk, jog, or run, the movement has actually been proven scientifically to start to stimulate that part of your brain. And I think it's largely because our conscious mind can be slightly free, because when we're walking, it feels like a more of an automatic act, especially as we get older in life. We don't have to think about how to walk anymore. We just walk. We just know how to do it. And it's the same with other activities that are sort of conscious or unconscious. So the unconscious mind is sort of free to focus on things. The conscious mind can then start thinking about creative stuff because we're doing something we already know how to do. I find it with driving. For me, if I'm getting stuck with an idea and I've gone for a walk and I'm still stuck, I'll get in the car and go for a drive. And sometimes I'll listen to the radio or I'll listen to a podcast or just do something to bring that source material in. And sometimes it's just parking somewhere for 5 minutes and people watching, looking at cars go past, looking out at a view of the ocean. Anything like that is going to help you find that source material. So don't get settled on having a bit of a dry spell. Don't believe that's the end of your creativity and you can't make it happen. Like we talked about on the last episode, it's actually about going towards inspiration. And part of that is gathering more source material. One of the source materials you can gather, of course, is, as I said again, The Creative Act by Rick Rubin. It's a great book. And in future episodes, I'm going to talk about some other great creative books that you can read and other great creative podcasts you can listen to, because for me, that's all source material as well. Okay, thanks for joining us for episode 3. We'll be back next week with another episode. And until then, please hit us up on the socials. And also you can email me, as I said earlier, wade@thecreativecoach.com. If there's a particular topic you want me to talk about, remember, this is a coaching session. It's you to me. It's one-to-one. So if there's something you want me to talk about or answer on your behalf, just email me. I'll be happy to do that. Okay, until next week, remember the magic words. You've got to say them out loud, or at least say them in your head out loud. I am creative. Away you go. Brilliant, because you are creative. See you next week.